The new GCA headquarters will be a force of good in our continent. Beyond business, we deeply appreciate Her Majesty Queen Maxima's commitment to pediatric oncology, with the Princess Maxima Child Oncology Center at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital standing as a beacon of hope for many. Tonight, we honor our past, celebrate our present, and embrace our future. In this spirit, I invite you all to raise your glasses for a toast to the enduring friendship between Kenya and Netherlands, to the good health and well-being of His Majesty King Willem-Alexander and Her Majesty Queen Maxima, and to the lasting partnerships and shared prosperity of our two peoples. Cheers. Please indulge me and take your seat for a moment. Before I invite His Majesty, allow me, because we have a citizen of Netherlands in our midst who also has made huge contribution, both as the leader of GCA and also the Chancellor of the premier university in Kenya, the University of Nairobi, to make very brief remarks before I invite His Majesty. Can he be? That's wait, let a microphone. Okay.
Building bridges, not walls. Bridges, not walls. That, Your Majesties, King Willem-Alexander, Queen Maxima. That, Your Excellency, President William Ruto. That, distinguished guest. That is in the words of Kenya's founding president, Jomo Kenyatta. And that is precisely why we're all here today. Bridges, not walls. Madaraja, Sikuta. Or in Dutch, bruggen, geen muren. My name indeed is Patrick Verkooyen. I'm the president and CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation. And I'm also honored, Mr. President, to be appointed by you as Chancellor of the University of Nairobi. And in addition, Mr. President, as a national of the Netherlands, I'm likewise a proud subject of their majesties indeed. And Your Majesty, Queen Maxima, you, if I may address you directly, you are the United Nations advocate for inclusive finance. You, madam, you are the voice of the voiceless, building bridges, not walls. But Your Majesties, Mr. President, we know the world is heading in a very different direction right now. New world order. Trade wars escalating. development finance slashed, friends turned into foes overnight, and yet we're all here. Because amid the chaos, real leadership is emerging, Mr. President, and thank you for that. And with it, real partnerships can flourish. Your Majesty the King, sir, you were the one who in New York in September 2021, you forged a global movement to adapt our world to our climate in crisis. And again, Your Majesty, in record speed, you were the one who opened the largest floating office in the world, a symbol of hope that we can overcome the crisis. Mr. President, President Ruto, you came to the Netherlands. You visited this Dutch engineering miracle in Rotterdam. And you said to me, if I can disclose, Patrick, I'm not really a swimmer. I'm a runner. And as you said, Mr. President, we're running out of time. Because for Africa to be the resilient growth engine of the world, it has to be resilient to the climate shocks. And Mr. President, you showed all of us, not just here in Kenya, not just in Africa, but across the globe, what it means to run. Because in record time, you welcomed the Global Center on Adaptation here in Kenya. And that's very that we're so proud of your hosting arrangement. And for their Majesties, it's important to realize, and for the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands and the Minister of Development Cooperation of the Netherlands, it's important to realize it is the first ever dual headquarter of any global organization. It's not just the Africa office, it's a partnership between Kenya and the Netherlands, celebrated by you, Mr. President. Thank you so much. Building bridges, not walls. Now, in closing, as a friend of Kenya and as the head of the university, your alma mater, Mr. President, I have learned a thing or two about collaboration. Think about it. Of the 1 million graduates of this nation each year, only 1 in 4 lands a formal job. But what about the others? Where will they go? Think about it. Some took to the streets, which we saw last year. Others make it as far as Europe. But if that trickle becomes a tsunami, no wall will be high enough to contain it. And because, as you said, Mr. President, we need to harness the demographic dividend, not fight it. And for that, here in Kenya, here in Africa, we need 3 things: jobs, jobs, jobs. And that's why you, Mr. President, you launched the Big 5 agenda for all universities here on this continent. In closing, the irony is, the sad thing is, many of the students here in Kenya, many of the students here at the University of Nairobi, they are already working highly skilled side jobs. And Madam Majesty, you know in what? Writing papers, not for themselves, not for their classmates, no, for Ivy League students in the United States to make a buck or two. Think about it. That's digital economy globalized and localized. And last November, in closing, Mr. President, you launched here, Silicon Savannah, right here in Nairobi, to turbocharge Africa's digital revolution. So for the business leaders from the Netherlands here tonight, I have one message for you. There is incredible untapped potential here in this great nation, in the digital economy, in high-tech, fintech, agri-tech, agribiz, much more, if only we build the bridges. And as a Dutchman, I'm here to say, Mr. President, although we may have earned a reputation for going Dutch, we're always open for business, for trade, for commerce. Both our nations, so much to gain through bridges, not walls. Madaraja, Sikuta, bruggen, geen muren. So your Majesties, Mr. President, In a divided world, we play defense and we leave chips on the table. But in a united world, Mr. President, which you lead, we're all in, everything to win. In a divided world, fearing our neighbors, we build walls. But Mr. President, as you lead in a united world, joining forces, we build bridges. Mr. President, Your Majesties, bridges, not walls. And with that, Kenya, unstoppable. The Netherlands, unstoppable. Together, unstoppable. I thank you. Asante sana. Thank you very much indeed.
You have it right there. Thank you very much. Now it's my humble pleasure to request His Majesty, Willem-Alexander, the King of Netherlands, to come and make his statement. Your Majesty.
Mr. President, Mrs. Ruto, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, thank you for your kind words and for your warm welcome that the Queen and I have received here today. This is our second state visit to the African continent, and we're delighted to be visiting your country, the beautiful and dynamic Kenya. My love of Africa was passed down to me at a young age by my father, who spent 10 years of his childhood in then Tanganyika. I myself got to know this part of Africa, and Kenya in particular, in the 1980s and 90s. First as a pilot for AMREF Flying Doctors, and later as a pilot for Kenya Wildlife Service, where my work included protecting elephants from poachers in Meru National Park. In fact, if I even start to thinking back, first of all, the only pilot's license I ever had was not a Dutch pilot's license, was a Kenyan license, and the number was Y2294PL. Given to me by Gladys at DCA, first floor, first office on the left. I remember exactly of 1989 when I went there. So it is an important part of my heart. Seeing Kenya from the air is simply magical. The light, the colors, the wide vistas. But Kenya from the ground is even more impressive, because there you experience the incredible power of the people who live here and work this land. For 61 years, our countries have enjoyed close diplomatic ties, ties that we cherish. The future belongs to Kenya. You can sense the self-confidence of its people. There's so much talent here, so much potential. Millions of young Kenyans are eager to contribute to their country's further development. These self-assured and enterprising people are the engine driving Kenya forward. That enterprising spirit is something the Dutch recognize. It's what makes our relationship so balanced and successful. You can see this in practice in our economies, which are growing ever more connected. We are Kenya's third largest export market worldwide, bigger than all the other EU countries combined. And we're one of Kenya's top 5 investors, promoting trade, embracing innovation and pursuing opportunities. These are endeavors that unite us. And it's not only our economic goals that unite us. We are both committed to promoting security and stability in Africa and the wider world. Together, we're working to combat terrorist networks that seek to undermine our societies. We're joining forces in maritime operations to keep our shipping routes safe. And we're supporting the UN in its vital work supporting peace. You are home to no fewer than 34 UN agencies, an impressive figure indeed. Stability, peace, and mutual trust cannot be achieved without the rule of law, good governance, and respect for human rights. Freedom of expression and due process are laid down as key principles in your constitution and in ours. Safeguarding these principles and implementing them in practice is an ongoing task for us both. The democratic legal order is always work in progress. You are aware of our concerns regarding reports of abductions and impunity. As equal partners, we can discuss such issues candidly. We encourage all efforts aimed at ensuring accountability for human rights violations. Kenya has a treasure trove of human capital at its disposal. Young Kenyans want to be taken seriously, to work as free citizens on building the future of their country. Today we spoke to a number of them and listened to their stories. One of Africa's unique strengths is the deeply rooted tradition of involving communities in decision-making and seeking consensus. This wonderful country can grow even stronger by allowing scope for contributions from all its people, sitting down and talking until a consensus is reached. We're grateful for the opportunity to hear about the experiences of Kenyans from all walks of life. Every strong relationship is based on the ability to listen, and that too is why we are here. Much of what we're hearing strikes a chord with us because we're dealing with many of the same issues in the Netherlands. Take your concerns about the future of farming and horticulture in a time of climate change, and about robust, sustainable water management. In the past, I visited Kenya, often as chair of the UN Secretary-General Advisory Board on Water and Sanitation. I saw for myself the impact of climate change on the lives not just of farmers, but of people in cities too. It's important that we continue working to combine Dutch and Kenyan expertise on water. And with that in mind, I'm pleased that a number of leading companies and institutions have traveled with us to Kenya. Clear evidence that we hope to deepen our cooperation across the board. In times of uncertainty, when large parts of the world are facing tensions and conflicts, dialogue and partnerships are essential. For over 60 years, Kenya and the Netherlands have shown how strong the ties between Africa and Europe and how successful our cooperation has been. As members of bodies like the UN Human Rights Council, we meet each other in the global arena. But you don't experience the magic of Kenya at conferences, however important they may be. You experience it here. The aromas, the colors, the stunning natural beauty, the vibrant city life, and above all, the incredible life force and energy with which the Kenyan people are steering this country into the future. May I ask you all to join me in raising your glass. Mr. President, Mrs. Ruto, to your good health and to the friendship between Kenya and the Netherlands. Cheers.
You're welcome to take your seats, and you are now invited to enjoy